that they don't get to see on. Here we go. And so I was stuck in kind of rural Connecticut for a couple of hours, and I started getting those messages and was doing some work in the back of the truck. So, I won't be able to do these live streams every day, but I will do them as frequently as I can, especially given that we have this. Hold on, let me just start this here. Since we have this Emergency Measures Act Commission starting, so this is all going to become increasingly more important. But I just want to say to everybody, so now we got all the streams up here. I just want to tell everybody, I'm glad you're here, and good morning to all of you. And I hope you're having an amazing day already, and I hope we're going to work together and talk about some things as a group, and we're going to solve all the world's problems, sort of thing. And we're going to do that in a positive way, because that's what the Freedom Coffee live stream is about, which is celebrating the freedoms that we have and working to expand those freedoms in the future and talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So Robin just snarfed. Good morning, Ryan C7. For everybody in all the other streams, Ryan C7s says, good morning, fellow extremists. Because apparently in clown world now, all of us who want freedom are extremists. So, but anyways, we're going to work towards this sort of positivity where everybody feels better about themselves and everybody around them. And do you really want to start your day with a positive, in a positive feeling, a positive vibe? You know how to do it? I got a secret. This is all you got to do. It's called reciprocity, right? And that's part of the secret. Reciprocity, that's what I've been telling people when I finish the streams, to be good to people, be kind to a stranger today. Not only does it make that person's day, whether it's somebody in the coffee shop, the gas bar, or local hardware store, whatever, it makes their day, but also makes you feel better because you've done something. You've engaged in this process of reciprocity, which has these psychological benefits. And one of the things, you know how you can engage in reciprocity and make you feel better? You can like, share, or subscribe this stream, wherever you are, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook. Where else are we? Well, obviously we're on Locals and Instagram and all over the place. And I got to ask you, Facebook, was it really, was it ever this bad? Is it just me? And this, I guess, was part of the problem during the convoy, is I not only froze out the fake news media, but I also was not on Facebook intentionally. That was part of the strategy. But I couldn't believe how many people still use that thing. So as you may see, those of you who are watching on Facebook, I have since gone back to Facebook kind of as it's kind of more of a test of, this thing's not streaming properly. Hold on. I'm doing technical support while we're streaming. So I have gone to, I've gone back there just kind of as a test for all of this streaming stuff, which is going to be, it's going to become more relevant over time, exactly what the strategy is. So I went to Facebook to test to see where everybody is, and was it always this buggy? And maybe I look at it through kind of, the tech lens, if you will. But every time I go to post, there's just I don't know, it's like full of bloatware and bugginess, and I have difficulty posting. And it's not censorship. It's not that. It's just really bad programming is what does it. So I don't know. Anyways, that's Facebook. I don't care about Facebook. I don't want to talk about it, but it's really buggy, and I'm surprised that anybody uses it. DJ Satoshi, what's up, brother? By the way, you and a bunch of people are getting honorable mentions in the acknowledgments of my upcoming book. The title will be released this weekend, along with the pre-sale date and the launch date. And we're going to do that in a Twitter space this weekend, October 9th, Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So be there or be square, and come on in, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of the things we're going to discuss a little bit today, we'll discuss there, but it's more going to be focused on kind of the book, the rollout, what's going to be happening, where you can all get it, and I'm sure people are going to ask me lots of questions about the book. Many of them I won't answer, and then many of them I will. I mean, if it's relevant to what's in the book, I'll just respond, read the book. If it's not, because we couldn't fit everything into the book, obviously, then those sorts of stories we'll talk about a little bit, and that's also what I'm going to focus on the Substack once I can get over this hurdle of my life. And anyways. Beth says, you got yourself into schedule and you messed it up this week. No. Okay, so let me explain. Last week, the week before? I think it was last week, when I was streaming every day, it's because I had the pleasure of needing all new brakes on my truck. And 2 weeks ago was every day. So my truck was actually I posted it on Twitter, a couple of pictures of my truck in little pieces, and anyways, all the wheel hubs off, tires off, whatever. Brakes, everything, rotors, pads, because for those of you who know tractor trailers, disc brakes are a new phenomenon for tractor trailers, relatively new, and wow, are they expensive. We'll just say that repair bill was 5 figures and crushed my heart and my soul. So, anyways, so we're going to discuss that stuff on Twitter this weekend, and we're also, I'm sure people are going to ask me about what's going on about the, I call it the EMAC, the Emergency Measures Act Commission, which is going to be occurring, I don't know, a few days it starts or something like that. So a couple of things about that, because I see people are starting to do the rounds, building narratives, all that sort of stuff, and talking about what it's going to be, how it's going to work. One of the things that came out was that Justin Trudeau is going to testify, and as my lawyer indicated, he said, they have something like 60 people scheduled to testify, and he's like, of course 45 of them are going to be from the government, because that's just the way it is, and it'll be very interesting. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think it's going to be controlled? Do you think, because now that Justin Trudeau is going to be testifying in the EMAC, which I'm shocked, I'm surprised that, all through the Freedom Convoy, he was hiding like a child. Remember, I got a negative test result. I don't have COVID, therefore I need to quarantine. And then he went on a vacation. There was 3 different things that I don't remember at this point, because I didn't care all that much during the Freedom Convoy, and I still don't. Anyways, so he's going to be testifying. I don't know what you think, if it's going to be controlled or not. But what do you think? You think he's going to get a lot of softball questions, right? You think it's going to be, having the prime minister that's testifying in this commission? And by the way, just a little note on this whole commission. Everybody who says they know how it's going to work and how it's going to operate and all that stuff, they're all full of crap. They don't know. Nobody knows. All these lawyers are scrambling to figure out how this is all going to work, because we haven't had a commission in this country in, 3 decades, maybe, something like that. 30, 40 years. It's been a long time since we've had a commission in Canada. The U.S. equivalent, for those of you who are in the States, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like the special prosecutor thing, similar to that, although different, because this is going to be held in a hearing sort of atmosphere, whatever. At least for as far as we know, but again, everybody who thinks they know, they're pretty much lying, because like all things in government, nobody knows what they're doing, and everybody's just trying to band-aid the solutions and put this all together. So it's going to be interesting. I have some predictions. For, and we'll see how accurate I am. I've been pretty good with a bunch of things, which is how I was able to get the convoy messaging as successful as it was. So I predict. Now I know you're going to be shocked about this, but Prime Minister Blackface Trudeau, the most racist person to hold office in Canadian history, is going to go into the commission, and he is going to call us racists. I know. I know you're shocked. He's going to call us bigots. He's going to call us homophobes and misogynists and people from a fringe minority. Well, they may avoid using fringe minority because that blew up in their face. But I think that might be his strategy. What do you think? Like, over the 7 years he's been in office, has he ever had another strategy? That's all he does. That's every problem they have to contend with. It's, well, those people are racist, bigots, and homophobes and whatever. And I got to tell you, I hope he does. Because that strategy, do you think it'll work? Because I'll tell you something. Oh, it'll work. It'll work. It'll work with his base. His base will eat it all up. They'll be all over it. Yeah, they're white supremacists, they're bigots, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. His base will like it, but his base is increasingly smaller day by day. So that's what is becoming the fringe minority. He's the one who's causing it. But I hope he does that, and I hope it resonates with his base for the little time that it will, because there's a secret weapon in this commission, in this process. You know what that secret weapon is? Me. I'm the secret weapon. I encourage you all to tune in during the testimony throughout the period as much as possible. You're going to see you're going to see coverage from, all sides of the political spectrum. You're going to see narratives coming from both, by the way. So you're not going to see entire honesty from one side or the other. That's just the way our world works now, right? It's narrative on both sides. It's not, things that were factually true, except for one person, and that's me, because I'm not beholden to any narrative or political ideology or whatever. I'm beholden to all of you. I'm beholden to the truckers who were there, who were arrested and had their trucks impounded and fined, and to the truth. So that's what my concern is. That's just the way I'm going to move forward. So it should be pretty interesting. And I think I know the underlying ideology of Justin Trudeau and that side of the political spectrum better than they are, because I find them to be the easiest people in the world to predict. I went through that in my business when it was on the university campus for almost 10 years. And so I saw this shift in front of me, and it was, it's exactly what's going on in politics now. So I dealt with it before it was in politics, really. It was just starting. On locals, you got yourself into schedule 2 weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. Can you move Sunday's Twitter Space link to the top of your Twitter page so I can see it? And I'm going to do that as we get closer. So yes, I will. I will pin it to the top. As soon as I'm done this, I have to have a call with some people in the U.S. who want me to speak and kind of arrange that event sometime in, I think it's in November, December. I think it's in November. So we will talk about it. Controlled, yes, he'll be reading from a script like he always does, being asked easy questions. Of course, it's going to be softballs, because what else can he do? He can't do anything else, right? Anyways, failed actor would be an improvement for what he is. Okay, so that's my little. I'm trying to get through a couple of more topics a little bit quicker today, because I don't want to waste all of your time and be here for an hour. K9 says denial is what Trudeau will use. It'll be denial. Well, I don't think he's going to be asked all that difficult questions, because the problem is in Canada, this happened in a court case recently that I'm aware of. The legal community is a small community. Everybody knows each other, and everybody plays off of each other for jobs and stuff like that. So the biggest cowards you'll find, not in all cases, But there are two people in Canadian society who are the biggest cowards by far, by a mile. One are politicians, and two, usually, but not all the time, lawyers. And as this it occurred during this case, as one of the lawyers said, it's a small community. Everybody knows each other. It's not going to be a circus because all the lawyers care about is their own personal reputation. They don't care about actually the facts. Not all of them, but many of them. So I don't imagine there's any Canadian lawyer who is an effective lawyer. And I don't mean a lawyer who's behaving like an activist. I mean a lawyer who argues law. Sorry, everybody. A lawyer who argues law, who is effective, that will be going after Trudeau. Because as we all know, the political class operates as a group, right? As a collective. So, okay. Robin says, I watched the True North interview with lawyer Keith Wilson, insert eye roll. Yeah, exactly. I love how you were such an integral part of the convoy, but yet him and the JCCF are trying to ignore you and ice you out. Yeah, there's some reasons for that. There's some. And I think all of you at some point will find out, and then, Robin continues on. Oh, morning. Kim's trippin', says morning, everybody. Kim's trippin', my favorite name. Then Robin says, you were the one doing all the media interviews, Tucker Carlson, GB News, Newsmax, etc. Listed as a co-organizer on the GoFundMe page. Yes, I was. But yet Tom Marazzo and Keith Wilson's name are being mentioned. Yeah, this is, well, there's a reason for that, and that's the biggest mistake that they can do. But I hope they continue on this path, because that's going to be a problem for them. And then Heather, Trudeau will throw people under the bus, saying advisors told him to declare the Emergency Act. Yeah, I put yesterday, it wasn't me. I'm not the finance minister. It was Christia. That's what he's going to do. And Kim's Trippin says Tom is only out for himself. Stevie Wonder can see that. Yeah. I have so much I could say on this topic, and there's so much that's been going on over the past several months as I've gone and found another lawyer, and there's a reason for that. Do you want me to talk about that? Or because, the primary goal is Trudeau, obviously. We got to get rid of Trudeau. But do you really want to hear all of this, meddling and backstabbing behind the scenes? Like, do you really care? I've been involved in it. I don't really care myself because, I just do my own thing. But if you're interested, then let me know. Maybe I'll see if that's something I'm going to talk about over the future. Good morning. I can share the latest post from Max Egan, our dystopian future. Good morning, Dave. Anyways, so I want to do a quick, my AI bot is trying to send me a message, which we'll talk more about that in the future again. A couple of PSAs, okay? And I hope people don't get upset over these things, but I have to say it. I really do have to say it. So the first one is police. This is obvious to most of us who are on kind of the center-right civil side, or center-right civil side of politics on the spectrum. Police. Treat police. This is a PSA. I can't remember who said this, but it was a great, when Black Lives Matter was, very popular, and I can't remember who it was, but did this long dissertation on it. When dealing with police, treat them. This is how I treat them. And remember, I have family in policing, so I kind of know what they're thinking when they talk to people. Treat police like a robot that can malfunction at any time. Yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you, sir. Or yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That's it. Don't engage. Don't attack. Don't respond. Don't make accusations. And, you saw that, and that's what's so amazed during the Freedom Convoy. Thank God, everybody there, they're truckers. They know, they deal with police all the time, and some of them, had other positions in the government, they understand how it happens, is just be respectful, right? And you saw that right till the very end when the last people were kettled. I don't know who helped them get kettled, but I have my theories. But everybody was peace, love, freedom, and they didn't attack the cops even. They didn't scream, they didn't yell, they didn't fight back at the cops. Yeah, they'll criticize, what are you doing? You're supposed to be protecting us and the Constitution, of course. But they weren't as aggressive as you see some people, during all that Black Lives Matter thing. So Black Lives Matter was, remember, kill the cops, fry them like bacon, whatever it was. And in contrast, the Freedom Convoy protesters we're here for peace and love. You got to protect the Constitution. You saw many times people saying, we love you. You're not our enemy. We know the police, and that sort of thing, that sort of vibe. You can see it in all the videos. So that's kind of the contrast of it. So PSA alert number 1, treat police officers like they're a lethal robot that can malfunction at any time. Number 2, PSA number 2, and don't get upset at me, but I have to say this. Don't ask me to introduce people to Jordan Peterson. I got to tell you, it's been, once I did Jordan Peterson's podcast and people realized I was talking to him, the amount of vitriol from people on the inside, that's when everything really accelerated. They already started with the smears and attacks of myself and Tamara and all these people who supported freedom were attacking us. But once I was on, I told this to Jordan, and he said, yeah, this is just kind of how people behave. That once I was on his platform and people realized that we were talking, the amount of hate and aggressiveness that I got from people was, it was just ridiculous. And it's just I've never been into celebrity culture. I do know a few people that are quite famous. I know a few people who are extremely wealthy, names that everybody here would know, not just Jordan, but other people. And the reason is I would never, they trust me and they know I would never, ever give out their phone number, their contact information, and in most cases tell anybody that I know them. They know that about me. But, the amount of vitriol that started when I was on Jordan and Michaela's podcasts, when people come out and, everybody, including that guy, Tom M., sending me signal messages repeatedly, oh, introduce me to Jordan. Firstly, it's hugely disrespectful. It really is. But number 2, I'm just never going to do that, because that's why people like that know they can trust me. My word is my honor. It's my seal. And they know I'm not going to be careless with their information, because I know kind of because I used to date somebody who was very famous many, many years ago. So that's when I first saw this. I know the pressures that they're under and how many people are always trying to climb on, and it's just frustrating. And listen, Jordan and I aren't hanging out and having coffee every morning. He's dealing with world leaders all over the place, So it's just really, I know you guys don't mean it from necessarily a negative space. I mean, a couple people might have during the convoy they did. And I know people will also say that they aren't going to be coming from a negative space, but just try to consider the pressures that other people are under. And it's really a lot of, anyways. Public announcement number 1, treat police like they're a lethal robot that can malfunction at any time. And number 2, please don't ask me to introduce you to Jordan Peterson, or if you find out some of the other people that I know kind of in that space, please don't ask me, because I also feel bad. I feel bad telling people no, but then there comes a point where I start to get angry, and it's been 6 months of this, and I'm starting to get a little annoyed. I got to tell you, I really am. But anyways, a couple of people have been asking me this week. I'm not targeting you. I'm not specifically singling you out. That's why I haven't said your names. It's just been going on for months. So I just wanted to get that out there. A couple of comments. So K9 says, yes, talk. Kim Trippin says, hell yes. Oh, that's the behind the scenes backstabbing that's been going on. And you know what the best part is? They have no idea how much I know. That's the best part. But, you know, I had mentioned before, like I know the specific donors. I know the businesses they own, how much money they're giving to different groups and whatever. But we'll talk about that moving forward. Robin O says the details are juicy. Yeah, Robin knows a little bit of it for some reasons. I wish I could share everything. And, okay, now you guys are going back and forth. Can't share unless BJ shares. Yeah, let me, again, you know, there's certain constraints that we have. And then Robin O says, Robin O says, check your ego. Tom Marazzo. I can't get that quote from him out of my head from a video I watched. Yeah, there's some video on the National Telegraph. TNT put it up from Canada Day, where he gave a speech, and that's apparently my replacement. Anyways. Jordan Peterson did a great interview with Julian Assange's wife a couple of days ago. Really sad story. Yeah, it is. It's extremely sad. And, you know, there's a good example, Julian Assange. I don't like his politics. Like, I have no use for his politics at all. But we need to defend people like that and defend them to have the right to speak openly. And it's really quite sad that's happened to him. And essentially, he was just being a journalist. I don't know if you call it journalism, an influencer, you know, an early influencer, but whatever. People have the right to speak, and he is clearly being politically targeted, and they've killed him. I mean, there's no other way to describe him. I don't know how much he's clearly. You could tell when he was moved out of the embassy, he's not well. And he's probably suffered extreme mental anguish and PTSD or whatever, those sorts of things that arise from being targeted by your government. And you know what else was an interesting one was Edward Snowden. Again, I'm not saying for or against, but, you know, he was explaining the reason he's in Russia is because all these other countries around the world were opening their embassies to him the same way that Ecuador opened it up to Assange. And anytime the U.S. would get wind that Edward Snowden had a country that was going to take him in and give him residency, that country's ambassador got a telephone call from the U.S. government saying, if you dare give this person residency in your country, we're going to cut off aid, cut off funding, like depending what levers and influence that the U.S. government would have, they would exercise that as a threat. And the person who made those phone calls, his name, he's also known as Pedo Pete, but his name is Joe Biden. He's the one who was making the telephone calls threatening countries around the world that if you bring in Edward Snowden, we're going to crush you economically. So that's the type of total piece of shit Joe Biden is and always has been. Okay, a couple of more things. I got one long topic and a short topic. So the short one, we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, over the next few days, weeks, is that Elon Musk bought Twitter. Is it just me? And I had mentioned this to some people in some spaces before I started streaming, so we hadn't really talked about it. Wasn't that obvious that he was going to buy Twitter, that this was also all a negotiation tactic? Like, was that just obvious to me? That, you know, this going to court and trying to dispute the data, which we know from the data from Twitter is not reliable. We all know that. But wasn't it obvious that he was tactfully trying to drive down the price and trying to get it as a bargain below what he initially offered? I mean, I thought so. And so I never thought for a second that he wasn't going to buy Twitter, that this was obviously a negotiation. And I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of people who have experience in business negotiation, whatever, that everybody can see it a mile away. So anyways, it's done. And anybody who could see has experience in business negotiation could see that this has happened. And I just hope that I get my shadow ban lifted, and the artificial cap of followers, which is 48,200 followers, I think, approximately, is where it's triggered to. Once it hits that number, it starts dropping off followers. So if you followed me on Twitter, I've heard this a bunch of people, from a whole bunch of people, that say, yeah, all of a sudden I'm not following you again. I'm like, yeah, that's just Twitter's algorithm. So hopefully that will all come to an end, and it can be a more honest platform. And that was primarily what I was using during the Freedom Convoy, and not Facebook, because Facebook is horrible. And I was already trying to navigate censorship bots, and it was with Facebook, it was more difficult, whereas Twitter, because it's a microblog, because it's shorter, it was a lot easier to roll out a strategy to navigate all that stuff versus long posts, where, you know, the longer your post, the more susceptible you are to censorship, versus when it's a shorter post, it just became more efficient, and that's why I focused on Twitter. I know Tamara was on the Freedom Convoy group, which, by the way, is controlled by lawyers, and I found out recently has been controlled by lawyers since the end of the Freedom Convoy, like the tail end, the last week or so. Nobody told me that except for one of the board members reached out to me in the past few weeks and told me, he said, yeah, none of us are controlling it. It's just controlled by lawyers. And it's like, oh yeah, that's typical of what a political party does, because they won't allow any groups that could be adversarial towards them to have that large of a group, which I think at the height was 500,000 people, their members. They can't have a group that's large that would have a message that they can't control. So anyways, I'd rather stab my own eyes out than buy Twitter, buy Twatter. Listen, I hear you, but you know what? I think what he's doing, what Musk is doing, whether you like him or not, hopefully is an amazing thing for free speech, because whether we like it or not, Twatter, as you call it, that's where everybody is. People in the political class, in fake news media, alternative media, as well as celebrities. And the reason is because the interface is just, it's well designed, it's simple, and it's very quick. And like if you want to disseminate a very quick message in the form of a microblog, like I use Getter as well. So you can follow me on Twitter and Getter, but Getter still has a way to go. The programming on Twitter is far more robust, and you can tell it doesn't have the same level of bloatware that Getter is. Do you know what bloatware is? Does everybody know what bloatware is? It's whenever you do an update and you add additional lines of code to software, if you don't remove the redundant code that is no longer relevant, that becomes bloatware. That's why many of your apps get bigger and bigger and bigger over time, because much of the code is no longer used. And good coding removes the bloatware. Bad coding just leaves it and continues on, and that's how you can start to get some conflicts. And you can see that with Facebook, which is why I've had difficulty, posting. All right, so the topic I wanted to talk about is this legacy fake news media problem that we're having. And I'm sure you all have it. I have it in my family, amongst my family and my friends. Not many of them, but some of them. And I know you guys have it as well. Just what I'm doing right now. So I'm just jotting down some notes because I want to thank everybody that comes to my themes and so comes to the streams and tag them and all that sort of stuff, because I want to get a sense of who's coming to these streams, so I can connect with more of you and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to jot down some names. You'll see me do that from time to time. I'll get to the YouTube comments in a second. So yeah, I think we first have to understand, and this is again why you'll hear in a lot of these things, it'll become more clear over time why I ignored the fake news legacy media during the convoy. So it's important to understand that what is fake news, or what is legacy media? What is its goal? What is it designed to do, and who's it trying to reach? So with the Freedom Convoy, what we were trying to reach, I tried to make the messaging as simple as possible, right? And the mandates and the Arrive Can app. If you're wondering where that came from, that came from this guy here. And the reason was because it needs to be a quick message that can go in 2 lines that people will support, endorse. It's not divisive, and it's factual, and there's a little bit of emotion in that when the whole end the mandate ties into the whole idea of freedom. Okay, but the specifics of what we were trying to do, what we were trying to explain, can get quite esoteric. That's why when I did the first news conference, myself, Tamara, and Chris Barber, that's why it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, if I remember correctly. Because and all the questions that were asked of us, they were all different, because everybody who was there in media had a different series of concerns that they had, so they all wanted to ask different questions, and somebody answers a question, everybody understands what it is. So even with that, it went on for 2 hours. That's why 15-minute press conferences are complete bullshit. It's just script. It's scripted. It's narrative. It doesn't get to what the heart of what it is. And what we needed to do is have people understand us in our full context, which is why I did everything long. But legacy media and fake news media, and this is part of the reason it's collapsing and doomed to fail, is the opposite. I remember reading something on this many, many years ago, explaining the strategy of legacy media from a marketing perspective. When there was a time when legacy media was just all of a sudden got dominated by PR people, that they didn't just take people from journalism school, legacy media companies, they brought people from PR who had PR degrees. The number one skill you need in public relations is the ability to lie, which is why I've never been good at PR. If I believe in the cause, I'm great. But if I don't, I'm absolutely horrible. I'm not a PR person. This is also why when you watch Fox News, and this is also all legacy media, you're always seeing, you're often seeing women who are very pretty, who are in, they look very businesslike, influential. They're trying to capitalize on, in marketing terms, what's called erotic equity. That's the actual term for it. And they're not journalists. They didn't go to journalism school. They went to public relations school. So they learned how to lie. They learned how to sell a message and to sell an idea. And that's not to pick on Fox News, because all legacy media organizations do it. And one might argue that Fox News is probably, at this point right now, the most objective, although there are times where it's like, okay, well, that's a little bit too much persuasion. But that's why you have to watch all media and understand what you've been sold. So legacy media can be best defined as it's there for people who are passively engaged and not thinking. Think about that. They're passively engaged and they're not thinking, meaning they're not thinking about the topic, right? So imagine the average Western family, like Canada, US, whatever it is. We'll take that as an example right now. It's after school, your kids are home, you're cooking dinner, you're talking with your spouse, the kids are running around, making noise, whatever it is. I mean, we've all either grown up in that sort of household or have those sorts of households. And what pops up is you have in the background, you have legacy media on television. In Toronto, we have this thing that's so awful called CP-TV, CP2424 CP, something like that. And that's on in the background. And each story, it's the same 5 news stories that all the legacy media are collectively reporting on over and over again all day long. This phenomenon really got into high gear in 2014, 2015. And it was a long process to get there, but that's when it really, really took off. So you're in the kitchen and you've been primed already. If you saw any news or you heard you were listening to the radio in the car and you heard one of those 5 news stories while you were in the car, and now you're with your family in the kitchen, and again, subconsciously you hear in the background those same 5 news stories. They're not things you care about. They're just things that the legacy media and the people who control legacy media want to promulgate. That's what they want you to think about, right? And we see this. Happens a little bit in alternative media. It'll get worse. This is going to happen more and more in alternative media, but we're still at the early stages where we have independent creators that are dominating it. So you're at home, you subconsciously heard one of the 5 stories or all the 5 stories, or you maybe heard them twice, half paying attention while you're in the car. And now you're in the kitchen and you hear the same thing in the background. And it's like, oh, there was a shooting of somebody who is, you choose the racial group, of somebody in Florida. Why would somebody in Canada care about that? It's a foreign country. It's a completely different country, completely different governance, completely different social problems. I mean, it's different state to state and even city to city. But yet, here you are in, I don't know, Calgary or Toronto or Medicine Hat or Kelowna. And in the background, you're hearing some news story about a shooting on the side of the road in Florida. Why do you think that is? Because that is all trying to persuade you into buying into a narrative view of the world. That's all it is. It's just propaganda. And the methodology that they use is this whole idea of it's for people who are passively engaged and not thinking. Because you're not thinking about Florida. You're thinking about, oh, we got to put the kitchen in, we got to put the kitchen, the chicken in the oven. Oh, you got to cut some vegetables. But you hear in the background over and over again these same stories, right? Because you've already been primed for it. That's where media has gone. It's just pure fake news propaganda. And they also implore, the messages are very short, if you notice. This is why CP24 is such a valuable asset. And what is that one that CNN has in all the airports? There's something in... It's the same thing. It's the same model that's used in the U.S. When you go to the airports, you see that it's not the main CNN. It's like the short version of CNN. It's the same persuasion tactic that they're using on CP24. It's subconscious. It's in the background, but your subconscious picks it up. And you're now primed for when you're in front of a screen and you can see the longer version of them focusing on the story. You've already bought into it, right? You don't realize it, but you've bought into it. That's how they're trying to manipulate it. And, they use the drive-by smear, I call it. We discussed that in an earlier episode, which is what Trudeau is going to try to use during the Emergency Measures Act, right? He's going to come in. They were racist, bigots, white supremacists, Islamophobes, homophobes, whatever, right? That's what the fake news media is going to clip out. And that's what you're going to see on CP24, and you're going to hear it repeated throughout the day. So when you're with your family cooking dinner, you'll hear in the background Justin Trudeau calls out, extremists and white supremacists in the EMAC, the Emergency Measures Act Commission. That's this strategy. If you learn about, I'm not a psychologist, but if you learn about marketing, eventually you start to go down that path. So you go really deep down the rabbit hole, and you get to Edward Bernays, and you get some of these tactics that are used by mainstream media. This is how it all works. And what they're always doing, and this is why it kind of works. There's another term for it. I keep hearing Scott Adams explains this a little bit as one of the tactics. There's another word, a marketing term for it. I can't remember what it is. But thinking past the sale, right? So Justin Trudeau calls out the extremists in the Freedom Convoy. Wait. That is laying the foundation that you've accepted that there were extremists. Like, whoa. We haven't even addressed if there even were, but they're thinking past the sale, right? They're getting you to think about what kind of extremists were there. And they're getting you so distracted that you're not even considering, wait, were there even extremists there to begin with, right? So that's one of the tactics they use. And then, of course, they're always going to use social proof is the number one thing they do. So they'll do that. Well, this agency said that, and this three-letter agency said it. Oh, and this minister agreed, even though the minister is in their own government. So it's really one group of people, but they're trying to give you the impression that they're different groups that don't have any affiliation, but it's complete bullshit, right? It's complete nonsense. And then they'll do the appeal to the authority. So they'll do the, well, you know, this person, this minister, this person, this expert, right? Let's talk about the experts. The experts say who've been studying the rise of white supremacy in Canada for the past 10 years, they agree as well. Well, there's your appeal to authority. Who the hell's this guy? We don't know. It could be a part-time professor. A guy could be teaching art class and just completely, a complete lie. But you don't have the ability to contextualize the credibility of that person if they're even credible. And what we're seeing more and more is an expert is not somebody who has credibility in their field. An expert is somebody who's been on TV already saying the same thing. That's how this all works. This is also why it's really important to understand the fallaciousness or fallacious arguments, logical fallacies. To be able to deconstruct them as they're being thrown at you. Because, I mean, I'm at the point, sometimes you miss it. But I look like, wait, you're using this persuasion tactic, which is ABC fallacy. Appeal to authority and all that sort of stuff. So it's important to understand this. And these are all tactics that are used in marketing. Because remember, like I said, what has the fake news been doing? They've been replacing journalists with PR agents. And this is what PR agents learn in school, public relations, how to lie, how to disseminate an argument that can't be refuted. So all of this, I mean, there's so many reasons I iced out the legacy in fake news media from our press conferences. And despite the people around me, it was so infuriating. It was so infuriating to be explaining to these people who don't understand how media works and how they think they know, because everybody, I know how to. It's the I'm going to start a restaurant philosophy. Well, I know how to cook, therefore I can start a restaurant and make it a successful business. It's like no, it's not quite so simple. It's the same thing with this. Oh well, I watch the news. I know how it works. It's like no, you need to understand the underlying tools that have built the current fake news media and how it operates. That's what's important, right? It's not quite. I had a really fascinating conversation about this for about 45 minutes with a former Conservative MP, Peter Kent, who was an anchor throughout, I guess, the 70s and 80s. And we were at some event together, and I just wanted to probe his brain about different, what happened with media, what was the change, when did it change, all that sort of stuff. Learned a lot in that conversation. Learned a lot from Peter. So I don't know that I agree with all his political standpoints, but that's okay. We have to have friends we disagree with. But it was fascinating. He taught me a lot, and I am forever appreciative of that conversation. Those conversations you have in your life where you really learn something? That was one of them with Peter. Had one of those with Rex Murphy as well during the convoy. Awesome guy. Anyways, so what you're watching on CP24 is not media, it's not news. You're watching public relations and marketing. And that's why it all sounds the same. That's why people criticize them, say they're state stenographers. And that's what's brainwashing people in your family, your friends, and your social circles and all that sort of stuff. Before I get into this, a couple of comments here. CP24, whoever controls the message controls the hearts and minds of the people. Media in a proverbial nutshell. Yes, but the most important thing is the first narrative that gets out there becomes the narrative. And that's what they were trying to do with the Freedom Convoy, but we front ran them, right? And we went to alternative media. We got a narrative out there. And it was 1,000 times larger than the legacy media. So then they were screwed. They didn't know what to do, which is why I went directly to alternative media, because I knew I could get a larger swath of people quicker, and that would become the predominant narrative. Now, legacy media would then eventually come back and try to call us names, and that's just what it is. But I knew we had to get a narrative out there as quick as possible to as many people as possible. Okay, where is Dagny Pollock? Do you know? I have no idea. I haven't spoken to her since the convoy. Susan Stanfield, have you found Dagny Polly BJ? Can you contact these two? I don't know who. I don't know who these two means. If you can clarify it, let me know. David, Trudeau and the left are so predictable. Yes, they are. Because once you understand postmodernist philosophy, by the way, Open College with Stephen Hicks, a podcast that I produce, is with, if you've ever heard Jordan Peterson talk about postmodernism, much of the work comes from Stephen Hicks, who wrote Explaining Postmodernism in the 90s. So we have a podcast called Open College with Professor Stephen Hicks, and I think after the book is out, we're going to get back onto doing the next season of episodes. Anyways, when they feel they are losing the debate, they use ad hominem attacks, their opposition, of course, like postmodernists and communists do. Very similar to what Democrats do in the United States. Yeah, exactly. It's the same underlying philosophy for all of them. And if you understand their underlying philosophy, as Jordan Peterson said, you can learn it in a day, which is so true because it's so simplistic. And that's why it's so attractive to people who are lost. It gives them meaning, right? There are lots of people, we all know them in our lives, that are just kind of lost, that they can't figure things out, and they may be depressed, they may be unsure of themselves. Those are the people who get sucked into cults, right? Well, what is progressivism? It's a cult. It's modern religion. And that's exactly what it is. It's taking advantage of people who are lost, and that's why it targets kids who are in their teens, right? All of us, when we were in our teens, were somewhat lost, right? Like, you're figuring out life. Life is difficult at that age, and they just tend to exploit it. Okay, I'll get back to a couple of comments now. We're starting to get lots of them. Okay, so what do we do about this? What do we do about the brainwashing and all that sort of stuff? How do you undo this, right? How do you undo the people? Because I'm sure you all have been working on people. I have been working on people. That's why I wrote the book, which we'll discuss in the Twitter space on Sunday night. And that book, like I explained, it's not just for us to get a greater understanding of what went on behind the scenes and what I and everybody else were dealing with, but it's for you to give to liberals, to say, here, you can read this. It's not white supremacy, below. It's written by a Jew. Read it. This will give you a fair assessment that you'll understand, that will resonate with them, right? Like, that's what I'm hoping. I think the issue is we need to start treating people who have been subjected to this as addicts, okay? Because you can tell. Remember, all of this becomes habitual. This whole process of turning on the news, and while you're brushing your teeth, you're listening to CP24. It just becomes a habitual part of your routine. And when you don't have it, they feel some sort of void, right? There's something they need to fill it with. And what are they filling it with? They're filling it with that background noise that is talking to their subconscious. So, and it also, it depends, because people are on, it's not people are or aren't. It's a spectrum, right? Some people are more invested in legacy fake news, the people who have CNN on their TV or CBC on their TV all day long, every day. Those are hardcore addicts. That's like, you could look at them as a heroin addict or drug addict. Those are the people who are most difficult to get away from this addiction. And then there's other people that's just mildly habitual, that when they get in the car, they're going to turn on some fake news. I don't know why anyone would do that. I haven't listened to my old car that I drove into a tree on my way back to the convoy. I don't think I once ever listened to what I call testicle radio in that car. Not one time. I'm in the podcast space, alternative media, all that sort of stuff. So certain people, it's going to be easier to get them off and to give them alternatives. I've tried with people with my family. I like lotus eaters. I like them because they were the people who are on that platform when they all started in 2013, 12, whatever it was. They were more left than me, and now they're more right than me. But which goes to show how people can transition once they start to realize they take what we call the red pill, accepting what is the reality around them. And so there is hope that we can, if they can change, everybody can. But it's just about breaking the habit. So what I do is I find platforms that I think will resonate with people. I can't remember I did it last week. A friend of a friend has somebody who's really, really lefty, but is uncomfortable with the vaccine stuff. Sorry, the cerveza sickness medicine stuff. And I'm on YouTube. That's why, on YouTube and Facebook. And so what did I recommend? I recommended Russell Brand, because Russell Brand is a guy who was unlistenable, in my opinion, politically before. Entertaining, but unlistenable. And I had that conversation with Jordan Peterson. Actually, he asked me, he said, why do so many people think I'm so influential on their lives? And I said, well, I'll give you an example. Like with Russell Brand, I couldn't listen to Russell Brand before. I said, and then Jordan, you had an hour-long, 2-hour-long conversation over a podcast with him, and boom, he's out of the echo chamber. He still has left-leaning philosophies. He believes in big government and stuff like that, which is fine, but he's objective. And he's now switched over to, okay, I got to get out of this echo chamber and listen and talk to people on the other side. And I said, and that's what you did, Jordan. And you should take all the credit for it, in my opinion. I think Russell Brand is viewable for the rest of us because of Jordan. I said, and that's why we all see you as influential, at least from my perspective. That's how I see it, right? Ryan C7, BJ knows how to get me off. All right, well, I never said we have to have clean conversations in here. That's my telephone call. I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly. So, now I'm not an expert with addicts. I just, I look at it. There's a range of people. There are people that are hardcore addicts. They turn into the activists, or they have the activist mind. But there's regular people that are just kind of, it's their subconscious that's picking it up. So start to give them alternatives and just say, hey, why don't you listen to this person? You may not agree entirely, but try to hear the other side and find people that are, you can't go completely, like we always do that. Like you take somebody who's a little bit lefty and give them hard right. Well, hard right, but no, you got to find like something in the middle. For people on the left, another one that's good is Jimmy Dore. So Jimmy Dore, as far as I'm concerned, he's not a communist, but he's a socialist. But freedom of speech, freedom of expression, talking to the other side. That's what you need. They need to hear people on their side advocate for free speech and engaging with the other side. And once they hear that, once they're primed for that opinion, then you can slowly move them over to other stuff. I'm going to talk about this more on some other streams anyways, because this is an important thing. How do we reach people in our lives and in our families, the people we love? How do we reach the people that don't understand what's going on culturally around the world, or what the Freedom Convoy was about? So I've done this book. I'm doing this stream. I'm going to engage. We're already talking to different podcasters and streamers that I'm going to be doing interviews with when the book is out. And there will also be the commission, the EMAC, where I'm going to make a statement of some sort. I think I get to make a statement and then answer some questions, and it's going to be amazing. David W. Carlson. Yeah, Jimmy Dore is very good. Like, I don't agree with his opinions on many things, but he's willing to, engage and talk, which is what we need to go back to. We need to make it cool to have friends who disagree with us. And if you talk about a topic and you start to get angry, then you know what? Okay, let's just not talk about it and move on to the other topic and just drop it. People have lost the ability to drop it. I just don't understand. So yeah, and all of these things, as I'm explaining, go back and think about them if you want, and think about all the times you tried to persuade family members and friends to accept and understand what the Freedom Convoy was, this cultural problem, depending on your position on the cerveza sickness medicines and whatever. And think, why was I unable to persuade that person? Really think about it, write it down, because that's what you don't want to do. Whatever you're doing that's not working, stop doing it. There are other things you can do. And we'll talk more about this. So a couple of questions. I'm going to shut down the honking for freedom because I'm going to be, I don't know why this one shuts down after a certain amount of time, but that's fine. Everybody on Honking for Freedom, love you. Go to the Honking for Freedom Facebook page, by the way. I know what we're going to do with it. I guess we'll use it for launching the book and some of these live streams as well. But if you're not there, just, I don't know, give a like. I promise you'll feel better about it. All right? So we'll see you guys later. Okay, bye. So that's the, okay. So for the rest of you who are here, postmodernism was created by acid trips. It's so true. It's so true. You'd have to be on acid to be able to understand and accept postmodernism. Okay, David is clearly very well read, and David clearly can see things from multiple perspectives, which is an asset that we all need to have. We need to be able to understand the far extremist left. It doesn't mean we agree with them, but we have to understand it. Lori, Susan Stanfield trying to interview Dagny regarding the Emergency Act during the truckers' convoy. BG Chickouts. Why is she trying to interview her? She was working under me. Anyways, maybe. David WC, book recommendations, Progressivism, American Rediscovered, The Tyranny of Progressivism, Mark Levine, Liberal Fascism, The Secret History of the American Left, From Mussolini to the Politics of Change by Jonah Goldberg. I haven't read it. I've heard that's really good, actually. Antonio Gramsci, Herbert Marcuse, obviously Saul Alinsky. Yeah, if you want to understand their tactics. Although Alinsky's, I think it's outdated. I think it's gotten a lot worse, right? Herbert Colroy, Martin Heidegger. Yeah, Heidegger. George Sorrell. And all the postmoderns, Rousseau, and, all of them. Rousseau, Foucault, the whole group of them. Okay, a couple of questions and comments. If you have anything else that I haven't answered, put them in there. As I'm just going to go through a couple of comments that were sent to me, and then I got to get to my meeting. And then I got to get to my truck. I'm going to arrive late tonight, I think, unfortunately. An article released by our government suggests that. An article released by our government. This is from Jerry. Article released by our government with the suggestion that terrorism may be on the rise in Spain, Italy, Barcelona, the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic has a different issue around terrorism, actually, but saw through that quickly enough. Our government doesn't want us going on holiday. Why would the PM go or 3 weeks? Why would the PM go two or 3 weeks ago if terrorism is on the rise? So obvious. Yeah, but Dominican Republic or República Dominicana has some problems. If you read their news in Spanish, you'll see there's actually some issues, but clearly not what the fake news media is trying to tell people. Okay, so a couple of questions, comments I got. One was, what happened to Robin, by the way? Robin was here, and she was all like posting emojis and all that sort of stuff. She's disappeared. Anyways. Comments and questions. First, this is interesting. What do you listen to in your truck? Okay. I listen to a lot of ebooks and a lot of podcasts. And a range of podcasts. That's why it's kind of during COVID when I bought the truck and started going cross border. I'm one of those people that just when driving relaxes me, and a lot of car people are like that, and I'm no different. Motorcycle people, and especially driving a truck is it's like driving an old school Cadillac on steroids. Like, it's so big, comfortable, big lounge chair. You can stretch out your feet. I could stand up and raise my hands as high as possible, and I still can't come anywhere. I can almost touch one of the ceilings in the back. So it's, I don't know. It's just like it's an amazing place to clear your mind. And plus, you're away from traffic. You're in kind of rural parts. I'm in rural parts of the United States. And you can see some beautiful views. I'm not into changing of the leaf colors. I like palm trees and the beach and tropical climates. But if you're into that and you like to see the leaves changing colors, then you would love driving some of the places where I drive, because now you're just starting to see a turn. And you're in like the hills in Pennsylvania, rural Jersey, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, like all those places. And all you see is rolling hills of trees, and they're all starting to change colors. So if you're into that, get a trucking license. You'll like it. So, next thing, somebody said to me, somebody who has a public figure, she said to me, we're talking about privacy, and that for me, privacy is important. And I like the Sergio Marchionne quote, I have a private life and it's private. So she said to me, but how? You're a public figure. How do you balance it? And we're also talking about reputations and when people attack you and stuff like that. It kind of also feeds into that. And I just said, because what people think of me is none of my business. I don't care. You think whatever you want. I mean, that's why, yeah, and maybe to my detriment, maybe during the Freedom Convoy when people were trying to go after myself and others, maybe I should have responded. And now I'm starting to a little bit, but I just don't like, I don't care about people's petty nonsense. That has zero effect on me in any way, shape, or form. I don't care. It's their problem, not my problem. And I remember saying that to some politicians in the Conservative Party, and they had this look of horror on their face because all they think about is what people think about them and their perception. And I get it. That's part of their job, I guess. But I would just manage it differently. And I would just manage it from the frame that I just don't care. I just don't care. Yeah. Think what you want. All the best. I'm going to continue going on with my life, being happy, being positive, trying to help all of you be happy and positive and not allow this trivial nonsense, this noise that's out there have a negative effect on your life. If I haven't, I've recommended it before, but I'll recommend it again for those of you who struggle with any sort of anxiety and depression, the 5-Minute Journal. And I was thinking maybe we should do a 5-Minute Journal live on here, where I'll just go through the basic questions. So the first question is, what are 3 things you are grateful for? And it kind of forces you to make that shift from anxiety-driven thinking to thinking about things that make you happy. And when you start to feel happy and feel content, you can't be in a state of anxiety and happy at the same time, right? And that just makes it so much easier to set your day and move forward in that sort of frame. So I hope that's what I want to do here. And yeah, we're talking about, the media, but I think we're doing it a little bit tongue-in-cheek because, well, it's fake news legacy media, and all they're worthy is of being made fun of, and that's it. So we might as well enjoy it and make fun of them and Punchy McGregor and all that sort of stuff. Pam says, I'm buying your book for his parents. Okay, my hubby watches CBC every night because his parents always did. Oh, I ask him when it's over, he wants to know what's really happened in the world today, and we laugh. So, okay, so Pam's going to be buying a copy of the book for them, and awesome. I promise you, it's the best book ever written. Of course not. I mean, if I was Trump, I'd say the best work. There's no book like it. It's the best book. Maybe I should say that. It's the best book about the Freedom Convoy. There will never be a better book about the Freedom Convoy. That I can tell you 100% with 100% confidence. The people are putting the links in the chat here because I use an encoder. I can't click on them, so I don't know. I'll see if I can find them on Facebook later, but not until I get to New Jersey, because as soon as I do this meeting, I'm going to have to run. Okay, so triage for tickets for the live event, because we're coming close, but you saw we did a test. We're going to be doing another test next week, I think, or the week after, and then we'll start, putting together the schedule for the live event. But join here on honkingforfreedom.locals.com. That's going to be the first email list that will get the opportunity to get tickets. The second will be people who subscribe to my Substack, BJdichter.substack.com. Locals has a few hundred people in there. Substack has 100,000 people in there, and we're only going to have 150 spaces. So, and then if there's anything remaining after, there might, because there's people from all over the world that follow my Substack, then it'll be for the general public, and then I got to figure out which media I'm going to invite, if I'm going to invite anybody. Alyssa says, so no to Andrew Lawton's book there. No, I mean, Andrew called me about his book, and I haven't read the whole thing. I've read parts of it. I think you're seeing the lens from a political party, and which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. But Andrew, I'll put it this way: Andrew didn't have the context of what was going on that I had. Are they going to do it? Are they going to do a warrant? Call my lawyer. My lawyer call this police bureau. Talk to him, and then my other lawyer with the other issue, and then. Like, there's just so many things that were going on behind the scenes. And, like Tamara was under so much stress. Because she didn't put a moat around her. And that's why she kept disappearing. She would just, where's Tamara? I don't know. I'd call, I'd finally get a hold of her after a day, and she would be in Quebec. Because she had to get away from the stress. Because you could see how much stress she was put under. So, some of us had to make decisions that people didn't like, and people don't like hearing the word no, especially since they were trying to take over the convoy. But I don't take shit from people. And they had a problem with that. And you know what? Too fucking bad. Anyways, it is what it is. I think it all worked out for everybody because we are ArriveCAN free and we are mandates free. We just got to make sure that... we do everything we can to make sure that never happens again. Okay, so I wish you all the best. I got to run. Have an awesome day. Remember, be nice to somebody. Be nice to a stranger, even if they're grumpy. The best is, when I find somebody who's really grumpy, I try to be overly nice to them and give them 2 or 3 comments. And, usually it breaks them down. It makes them feel better, and it'll make you feel better because you changed someone's day. So I will talk to you soon. I got to run, and